I'm thinking he's a crying child. Generic control the That Goes Me here, back with another Game 3 FNAF video. Today we're doing FNAF The Faceless Puppet Master, and the quicker I can finish this intro, the less time I have to spend looking at that puppet, because you all know I do not like looking at that puppet, because why is it so long? I hope you're having a wonderful day. Hopefully I can make it a tiny little better. You can check my reaction to last week's video, which was, it talked about the time-traveling ball pit. It was the secret crimes of 1985. Leave my reaction to that right up there. Also going to be linked down below in the description. Also going to be a place on my channel with all the other Game 3 FNAF videos going in chronological order. Now that video had a segment where there was no audio. That's because when he was doing the audible ad read, he had a song in the background, and the copyright holders or some massive corporation decided to wait until my video went live in order to copyright claim that video manually, so they would get all the revenue. So I said, screw you, we're cutting all the audio out, so that they didn't get to you know, make money off of their stupid waiting until I made the video public, so I wouldn't edit it. Because if I uploaded it, it was unlisted, then I would have gone through and fixed it. But it's just garbage that people can do that. But I hope you're having a wonderful day. Hopefully I can make it a tiny little better. I do read every single comment, so leave them down below. I'll be live stream today at 5 p.m. 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern time. My Pokemon White 2. That's like, if you miss it, I'm uploading them on the gaming channel, Duck Goes Gaming, on Saturdays at, I think, noon. If you want to watch my Pokemon White 2 Nuzlocke, first time playing Pokemon White 2, it's very, very interesting. But like I said, I read all your comments. I'm excited to jump into this video. Hope you are too. But let's go ahead and get into it so I can stop looking at the puppet. All right. Oh god, what is this supposed to be? Oh no, don't do this. Why are you doing this? At least it's not the puppet. At least it's not. I mean, there might be a puppet jump scare, actually. Honestly, that reminds me of the thing at the Chuck E. Cheese's, where you sit down and, like, have your picture taken, like a photo booth, and then it would show them, like, drawing. Is that what this is supposed to be? Oh, who's that? Man, these videos have come a long way. How many views does this video have? Game Theory? That's a sick intro. 8.3 million. Any time traveling ball pit?
Continue our analysis of FNAF's newly released ghost stories, The Fazbear Frights.
Yeah.
Last week we covered the majority of this.
Is he covering the second book now?
Including the massive bombshell where we visit what is chronologically the earliest Freddy Fazbear's Pizza we've yet seen.
Yeah, because it's not the diner.
That we have never visited before in any of this series canon, but one that we know to have existed somewhere in the background since the release.
This company
of FNAF
has gotten a lot of
murders set in 1985.
A lot of second chances.
Likely that this was the mystery location to have closed down the franchise before its grand reopening 2 years later in 1987. And
nice.
That, loyal theorists, is why I
10 years before I was born.
Scrap of FNAF content out there, and like entered the Stitch Wraith over here.
It's not actually entered.
Out ideas, and
I read every comment.
His dumpster, hoping to cobble it all
Stitch Wraith's my
into a
favorite.
workable body theory thing. Whatever. As that silly children's workbook taught me years ago, some of the biggest lore reveals in this franchise can happen in the unlikeliest of places.
In the books.
Yeah, we're gonna reveal Golden Freddy's name in this children's workbook word
Cassidy.
search. Fantastic. Actually, it was fantastic. I thought it was a brilliant way to do it.
It's
That
so
said,
well
I will
done.
not forgive dabbing Chica. Never. Truly a cursed image. But you see, I think there was one other massive lore reveal hidden in Fazbear Frights, buried amongst the tales of Extreme Makeover.
That's
Robot
terrifying.
Ball Pit Time Machine. A lore
I wonder if the Ball
reveal
Pit Time Machine has to do with the disc.
Today. A lore reveal that introduces us to
Maybe.
a character who's been helping to pull the strings since the very beginning.
Who?
One who's been misleading
the Faceless
us
Puppet
about
Master?
the horrors of Fazbear Entertainment. Someone whose importance goes far beyond just the 40 pages he appears in throughout this book. I think Into the Pit they have just introduced us to the creator of these games. And I'm not talking about Scott Cawthon.
Who?
Let me explain. One of the strangest inclusions in FNAF VR Help Wanted was a reference to a game designer that was telling
supposed to be
lies about
Scott.
horrors happening at Freddy Fazbear's
We
Pizza.
thought it was Scott.
We know that Fazbear Entertainment has developed something of a bad reputation over the last few decades. And while it's true that some stories associated with our name were loosely based on actual events, the majority of them were total fabrications from the mind of a complete lunatic. Lawsuits pending.
And yes, that sweet, sweet
That's
piece
Scott.
of man candy that you see there is Scott Cawthon.
Are you
himself.
flirting with him?
Okay, fine. Haha, funny joke there, Scott. I mean, this series likes to get self-aware. We're all
But maybe
familiar
it's
with that. And
not.
for a
Maybe he's
mainline
not
title
Scott
of
in the
series,
game.
This one felt pretty extreme, but fine, cool with it. And then you keep playing the game, and what started
That's
as a
terrifying.
one-off tongue-in-cheek joke actually becomes
Also
a
terrifying.
piece of the lore.
They lied to us. They lied to all of us. They told us that the whole point of this VR game was to undo the bad PR done by a rogue indie game developer,
which is supposed to be Scott,
who supposedly made up a bunch of crazy stories that tarnished the brand.
But it doesn't stop there. There's more twists in FNAF VR than there is in a typical M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Fazbear Entertainment hired the game developer. Those indie games were designed
so it's not
to
Scott.
conceal and make light of what happened. This isn't just an attempt to rebrand. It's an elaborate cover-up.
The whole thing starts with like, oh, this game designer is a joke. Psych! No, he's not. He's actually critical to the lore and is exposing the crimes happening at these restaurants. Booyah!
Okay.
Again.
And they're trying to undo
He's
that.
One of the villains. When the dust actually settles on this plot development, what we're left with is a game designer looking like Scott Cawthon,
played by Scott,
Fazbear Entertainment, to make indie games, the games that we've all been playing up to this point, in order to misdirect us away from the real lore of the story. So of course, I did an episode all about how Scott Cawthon is the villain of FNAF.
But he kind of is, and kind of isn't.
Scott is one of the bad guys. He was lying to us. If FNAF VR
Look at King K
to be
on the side.
believed, pretty much everything we know from the first 3, at least, but maybe even 4, 5, heck 6 games could all be thrown out as complete fabrications created by Scott Cawthon for the sole reason because he was paid off by Fazbear Entertainment. Except I was wrong. Nothing new to be sure, but here, my timing couldn't have been any worse.
You gotta jump
you
to
see,
some conclusions here.
Very week that I uploaded that video, Scott made a post on Reddit saying that the indie game developer from FNAF VR isn't him. Here's what he had to say, quote, "The question is this, is Scott Cawthon now FNAF lore? The short answer is no. Yes, I used my own picture for this indie developer because it's an obvious parallel, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's
like I said, it's somebody that has the face of Scott, but it's not actually
vague
Scott.
And mysterious about the lore for years, half a decade at this point, and this one little detail is the thing that you want to clarify, and you just choose to do it right before my video on this very topic, which, while it is honestly still a perfectly valid theory, gets everyone to dismiss all of the findings for that entire theory since it's the one small detail that I get wrong and everyone focuses on. I don't have feelings about any of that at all. Scott
you don't?
So no,
it's hard. It's hard to do that. It's hard to come up with theories, dude.
Made video games based on actual events that may or may not be a cover-up by Fazbear Entertainment is canon. Keep in mind that I do tend to use pictures of me and my family in the games, just because they're so readily available. In FNAF 4, I used a picture of a mountain range that I took while I was a truck driver in West Texas. I used a picture of a snowman that me and my older sons made together. I used a picture of a pet mockingbird that we nursed back to health one year. Do these have more significance? Well, you probably already know the answer. End quote. Oh, I know the answer, Scott. And that answer is yes. You breathe and it becomes canon. My ever-decreasing sanity aside, it does leave open the door
he's losing his mind
of who this rogue indie developer is. And I think that Fazbear Frights' story Into the Pit reveals to us who it might actually be. Admittedly, this is a bit looser of a theory, but I think it's one worth discussing. I believe our secret game designer, the one who's been lying to us through these games, is the story's main character, Oswald. The little 10-year-old
really
winds up in a time-traveling ball.
And he's retelling the stories or something?
Murder scene of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. I believe he was hired on by Fazbear Entertainment to create these games. Now, that might seem like a stretch for a character that we only get to know in the span of 40 pages, but holy Ballora, is there a lot of evidence in those 40 pages to back that assertion up. Shortly into his story, Oswald is shown to be obsessed with animatronics for no apparent reason. Quote from the book, he didn't know why, but lately he'd been drawing mechanical animals, bears, bunnies, and birds. He imagined them being human-sized and moving with the jerkiness of robots in an old science
a bear
fiction
that's human-sized would be pretty small.
Sometimes he drew the animals' exposed metal skeletons or sketched them with the fur peeled back. It was a creepy effect, like seeing a person's skull peeking out from beneath the skin. End quote. Now mind you, this is without him ever having a connection to animatronics. Heck, he doesn't have a connection to the pizzeria at this point in the story. He has never been there. Nothing. This is just him naturally choosing to draw these oddly specific things without any outside references or influences. So already this boy seems to have himself a strange connection to the FNAF lore, or is just a psychopath in training, but there's more.
Probably that
For
one.
such a short story, Into the
And his
Pit
brain's
takes
crooked in his
a lot
head.
of time to establish Oswald as a fan of video games, B-grade Japanese movies, and manga. A lot of time
Manga,
for a 40-page
manga.
story. We
Yes.
hear about him listening to video game soundtracks. We witness the debates that he has with his father over cheesy Toho-style Godzilla monsters. How funny he finds the actors' lips not matching up with the dubbed-in words in those sorts of movies.
Understandable.
He visits the library and we hear about his
That's sword
enthusiasm
art
for the
in
latest
One
manga
Piece?
installment. Now, the connection to video games is pretty obvious here, right? If he likes video games, well, there's a chance that he'd want to grow up to be a designer of video games himself. But it's his connection to old, cheesy Japanese films and manga that really got my gears
Just
turning.
keep showing
Think
SAO.
back to Ultimate Custom Night. At various point thresholds in that game, you would unlock the Bear of Vengeance cutscenes. Each one clearly inspired by those
Japanese,
old,
yeah.
poorly dubbed Japanese samurai movies. The art style clearly riffing on classic anime and manga animations. The mysterious designer of the FNAF
Yeah, I
games,
remember
who
seeing this.
presumably made Ultimate Custom Night.
I've only ever
would
played the
need
first
to be a
FNAF game,
fan
by the
of
way.
This style of storytelling to want to incorporate it into his work. And here we have ourselves Oswald, a person who exists in this universe, whose limited characterization is spent establishing him as a fan of exactly this type of storytelling. Speaking of limited characterization, it's a minor connection, but a key point
Is
of the
Oswald the
story
crying
is how
child?
money-strapped Ozzy and his family are. The reason he spends so much of his time in the library and the pizzeria is that they're both cheap forms of entertainment
They
during
are.
the day, while his family works over the summer.
I don't know about the
If Oswald
pizzeria
were
being
to
a cheap
grow up
place,
and
but-
end up designing the FNAF games, well, it would actually be a somewhat similar story arc to Scott Cawthon himself. As his story goes,
50
Scott
Shades
was a
of Scott.
struggling game designer. He was making minimum wage during the day as a Dollar General store clerk and working on his games at night, with none of them
That's
going
passion.
anywhere, many of them being poorly received. The
Too much
first
lumber.
Freddy's game was the one where all of his years of hard work and grinding finally paid off. There's obviously a lot more to that
And that was
story,
his
but
last-
suffice it to say,
that was the last
Oswald
game he
seems
was
to be
doing.
a character after Scott's own heart, coming from modest means, a fan of nerd culture. So to see Ozzy
Yeah,
be
I don't know
the
if those two
in-universe
things necessarily
programmer
mean
of
that
his
it's
game,
Scott,
to be
but-
Scott's literal in-universe stand-in for himself, well, it
Could
doesn't
be.
seem like that much of a stretch.
What if he was a crying child,
Saying
though?
Our designer was this kid who draws spooky animatronics, comes from a low to modest income family, a story
Don't we all?
similar to Scott, and likes video games and anime is still a bit
Don't
of
we
a
all?
stretch, right? Describes like 90% of kids.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Exactly.
not all kids have a psychic connection with a decades-old murder restaurant, but the rest of it, sure, pretty generic kid. Here's the thing, though. We're not just talking about Oswald's character traits here. If
What?
you look at Ozzy's experience with the Fazbear restaurant in the story, you could see where he'd be inspired to include certain game elements that we ourselves have played through. The
I'm
first
thinking
most
he's a
obvious
crying
is
child.
Jeff, the current owner of Jeff's
I mean, he's Jeff.
Pizzeria, the pizzeria that took
Never seen
over
that
the
movie,
abandoned
actually.
Freddy Fazbear's and Oswald's time. He's described in the book like this, quote, Jeff was creepy too. He looked 100 years old, but was probably just 30. With those heavy-lidded, bloodshot
Pixis.
eyes, the stained apron, and the slow
Attack on
speech
Titan's
and
crazy.
movement. He was like a zombie pizza chef. And slow movements, bloodshot eyes, zombie pizza chef with a red-stained apron. It sounds like it could very well be the inspiration behind an undead murderer in a pizzeria who refuses
What?
to die. Or
Oh,
a
Jesus,
walking
hi.
purple zombie that haunts the streets of the town.
As
Remember, the game
entered-
designer hired on by Fazbear Entertainment was tasked to lie about and make light of the murders in the Freddy restaurants. So what we see in the games would likely be a mix of reality and fiction. Oswald could very well be
Time
pulling
travel.
from his real-life experiences. I mean, the names of people Oswald encounters also have themselves an uncanny similarity to
To
what
what?
we see in the games. Ozzy's best friend from the past
Is-
is named Mike. A Mike who outright says this, quote, you know, when I was little, I loved Freddy Fazbear's band. I
Is
even
that
had a
like
stuffed
Mike,
Freddy
like
I
the
used to
son
sleep
Mike?
with," end quote. Wee-woo, wee-woo,
Red-
wee-woo.
yeah.
Sorry, that's the lore connection alarm. It goes off anytime someone makes a passing reference to FNAF 4. In that same conversation, Mike also reveals that he has himself a sister. Wee-woo, wee-woo, wee-woo.
Well, that's
Sorry
pretty
again.
easy.
And then they also talk about how creepy clowns and
Whoa,
dogs
that
are.
puppet.
Apologies, that's my other alarm. That's the sister location revelation alarm. Anyway, it doesn't
How
seem
many
to
of these
be
alarms
Mike
does he have?
Afton or Mike Emily. Oh, you can bet I checked into that one.
Really?
But these
It's not?
conversations could certainly have inspired Oswald to make a character named Mike who lives and loves the Freddy Fazbear franchise, who has himself a favorite Freddy plush, who has a sister who loves dolls and becomes a really creepy clown doll hybrid who
Oh.
commands an army of dolls herself. Later in the book, Oswald meets a girl named Gabrielle, who loves Greek myth and gives him the courage to fight back against Golden Bonnie. Gabrielle is a very random character, but one with, again, a very important name. One that is
one on the
once again
Gabriel?
shockingly similar to one of the kids that we find on our gravestone, Gabriel. Even the theme of this short story could have inspired Oswald's games. You see, after Oswald uncovers the 1985 murders, his dad gets sucked into the time travel pit by Golden Bonnie. And not just sucked in, he's replaced. Suddenly, everywhere his dad should be, Ozzy instead sees the silent, staring Golden Bonnie stalking him.
And that's why I have guns.
Ozzy is the only one who sees it too. Everyone else just sees his father like normal. Actually, a really creepy, disturbing piece of imagery.
That is kind of terrifying, actually.
Insanity, but it's also one that directly ties back to the core motif of the games. A father, William Afton, becoming a golden bunny to terrorize kids, including his own son. A son who then has to go out, seek, and ultimately rescue his father in order to end the nightmare. And then you just have
also burn
random
everything
lines
down.
inserted into the story that kind of fit but kind of don't, but are also oddly specific to key moments throughout the FNAF franchise, like this quote, "Every day you toss me out on the street like garbage," end quote,
Jesus.
which are reminiscent of the FNAF 6 salvage minigames, with animatronics literally being thrown out on the street. This line, as Ozzy says it in the context of the scene, is kind of awkward, but if you're looking at it through the lens of, hey, this is actually a lore connection back to the game,
that
now
makes
all
sense.
of a sudden it fits perfectly. There are just so many details that line up between Oswald's character, the people he meets, and the things that he goes through that line up with someone who could have made the FNAF games. Concocted
it really does kind of add up.
Of this story. Even motive-wise, it makes sense. Maybe Fazbear hires him on because they know he knows the truth, and it's to get him to shut up.
Or maybe they're trying to kill
accepts
him.
The money
I don't
because
know.
A, he's poor, and B, he's
poor.
scared. He knows what they can do to him. I mean, will any of this ever come into play in any way, shape, or form? Unclear, probably not, but one, it actually may be able to help us better separate out the truth from the fiction in the early games of this franchise. Like knowing zombie people were inspired by Jeff, the owner of Jeff's Pizzeria, the zombie guy, may take all of that information off the table and really let us focus in on what truly matters. A specific subset of murders. But even if it doesn't do anything grandiose like that too, I wouldn't be surprised if we end up seeing Oswald again at some point. I mean, already there's a new teaser for the next installment of Fazbear Fright, Fetch, up on Scott's website. So you can bet that we're going to have a lot more to say about this series and its connections with the games in the coming months.
Okay.
Hey,
well, the next series is going to be out next week.
Theory.
My name's Jeff.
A game theory.
I've been in your childhood since 2011. Joke's on you. That's assuming I had a childhood. St. Jude Charity, Markiplier, Scott Cawthorn, who made a game. It was really cool. I'm going to bounce out of here just because last week's video, towards the end of the video where he had the audible ad read, there was a song playing in the background, and then they waited until the very last, they waited until the video went live to manually copyright claim that video instead of copyright claiming the moment I uploaded the video the night before, or the day before. Technically, it wasn't even night. But they let it sit on there for almost an entire day and then claim it by the way until the second that it went live to copyright claim. And that's why there was a silent part of that video during the audible ad read, because that's how people abuse the copyright system. It wasn't game theorists or anything. It was like a music corporation. So it's just super annoying not to do that. I have no problem if the game theorists copyright claim these videos. Like, if it's the creator of the video, perfectly fine to copyright claim it. But if it's like, if it's some massive corporation or something like that, no, absolutely not. They can eat it. The Faceless Puppet Master, Oswald, that's a very interesting theory. I think Oswald could be the crying child. I have no idea. I don't know. Maybe it could make sense. I'm not really sure. It could explain everything, because, like, I don't know. I really don't know. I could be wrong, because he at this point, he thinks that the crying child is Mike. But it's not, because we know that that's wrong based on the comment section. But I look forward to watching The Grave Robber. No idea what that's going to be about. Maybe about getting cadavers or something like that. Hope you're subscribed so you don't miss it. Trying to hit 100,000 subscribers before the end of the year. Stop by my Pokemon live stream at 5 p.m. It's going to be very, very fun. But so will the next video and so will the comment section. But I hope you have a wonderful rest today. Hopefully I made it 10 a little better. But until next video, take care and keep the music.
We were